is a way of bringing the mind to a place of peace and away from a place of suffering. It's about bringing balance into our feelings and our way of being. Because when you get into a practice where you can really observe the thoughts that are going on in the mind, you notice very quickly that all of the time the mind is jumping back and forth between their states of wanting and aversion, wanting, craving, desiring, needing, or disliking, wanting things different, hating, annoyance, and so forth. And as a result, the mind never has the ability to be in the center point, in a place of peace, and to come away from feelings of suffering. When I'm craving some chocolate, for example, and there's none in my house, then this thought in my head creates this attachment, and I'm not going to be happy until I've gone out and found myself some kind of chocolate, or I've really satisfied my need. I'm not going to be at peace. I'm not going to be in the moment with whatever else I'm doing until that piece of chocolate has been found. So you can see this wanting or this craving is leading me away from being at peace, because I'm attached to the idea of this chocolate is going to make me feel good. And the same with the aversions as well. So when I dislike something, when I dislike the fact that my partner is away, or my partner is busy with something else and he can't give me attention right now, I'm going to be upset, I'm going to feel rejected, I'm going to feel annoyed or even angry, and this is quickly getting, and this is quickly leading to my suffering. And it's just for the fact that I am attached to I'm attached to whatever this need for validation or whatever it is I'm seeking. And this is true on many different levels, so you can really start to see how the wantings and the aversions, the cravings and the dislikes lead to our attachment for things. And we all know from the Buddha's teachings that life is suffering because of the attachments in our life. So really, equanimity is a place about, or is a practice about trying to let go of our our cravings, our desires, and our dislikes, as a way to come away from suffering and bring more peace and happiness and real joy into the daily life. And this is completely different. Sometimes people compare this to indifference, or really not caring about anything, and squashing what's real inside of us. And equanimity is not about when you have a feeling to squish it. Equanimity is not about taking away the joy in life, and about not enjoying chocolate cake, about not enjoying love with our partner. It's not about pretending that these feelings aren't there. It's more about coming away from the attachment to these things. So to understand it better, it comes about, like, if I have chocolate in front of me, I'm still able to enjoy that chocolate. I can taste that chocolate fully and still experience the joy of that chocolate. And that is totally what we're meant to do in our human experience. The problem comes around is when we attach to the idea of this chocolate. And when it comes to the next day, after we've eaten all the chocolate in the house, and my mind comes back to the thought like, oh, I would really be happier if I had more of that chocolate. This is where the suffering starts to come in, is when I've attached to the idea that this chocolate is going to make me happier in this moment. And this is the point where real suffering is created, not by the enjoyment of the chocolate, but by attaching to this thought, I want this, I'm going to be better for it, this moment would be so much better if there was chocolate here. This is what we want to come away from. And when we can practice equanimity and not follow this thought about this craving or this aversion, then we are able to actually have more enjoyment in this moment. We actually have more freedom and we have more ability to love. So equanimity is actually completely the opposite to indifference or not caring, not loving, and not enjoying life. In a nutshell, it brings you much more closer to these things, to come away from this attachment to our desires, to our feeling, or to our thoughts of craving and aversion. So the practice of an equanimity is bringing this balance. It's the ability to let go of our suffering and to really embrace the joy of life and finding the joy in every moment, no matter what is happening, no matter what is there, what is present, what is not present. We can really tap into 100% happiness at all times. So that is the real kind of goal of equanimity. Cultivating this mind where we can let go and just embrace what is. So today's yoga practice is going to incorporate the theme of equanimity and letting go. So when you're ready, grab your mat and let's come back and get started. Okay, for the first minute or so, we're just going to go a little bit inside. So find your comfy seating over your mat. If you need to take a few pillows or anything like that to sit on, then take the time to really make yourself comfortable. Closing the eyes and finding relaxation in the body. So where we're holding on to tension in the spine to sit upright, maybe just let that go for now. As long as we're sitting comfortably with our sitting bones connected to the floor, the legs are crossed, the arms sitting gently over the knees. The heart or the chest is opening up. And the face, the shoulders, the neck are relaxed, melting towards the floor. And we start to come into our breath. We start to follow the flow of the inhale and the exhale in the nostril. Feeling the cool air when we breathe in, and the warm air when we're breathing out. And just noticing where we feel the breath, the back of the throat, in the chest, in the stomach. And we just keep the mind's awareness following the movement of the breath. Feeling the relaxation that comes with slowing down, with letting go, putting away the thoughts of the day, planning of the mind, just leaving that to the side for this next half an hour. Really investing this time for yourself, for the betterment of your mind, your body, your well-being, and the well-being of this planet. And I would like to invite you to observe the mind during this practice today, to maybe notice where thoughts of aversion or dislike might start to creep into the mind. Noticing where thoughts of wanting the poses to be different, to be easier, to be harder, to be quicker. And when you are able to notice these thoughts, I'd like to invite you to go deeper into the feelings behind these thoughts. Is there tension in the body or the mind? Are the feelings nice or uncomfortable? Or even does anger arise, annoyance? Just seeing, just taking the time to observe how the mind functions, to observe how the state of the mind is in this flux between wanting and aversion, and becoming aware of how these thoughts create a feeling inside the body. And so I would like to invite you to make these observations completely free without judgment. There is no right, there is no wrong way of being. Everything that is part of our human existence and is part of what is meant to be. But the practice comes to just be able to observe and to understand what is, to work with what is in the best way to bring us from suffering. So please observe yourself, observe the thoughts, observe the feelings at a place of distance, at a place of compassion. And to know that this observation is just part of the process of coming away from suffering. So for the last time, just coming back to the breath and feeling this gentle flow in and out of the nostrils. Feeling the relaxation, the calmness, as we start to notice the calmness, and notice the calmness before we start to move into today's practice. We gently start to open the eyes a little bit at a time to let the light in. Slowly but surely until the eyes are completely open. We bring the hands to the heart center and we bow down as a symbol of connection between the mind and the body, the mind and the heart, the mind and the soul. And let the hands fall down to the knees, the head to rise back up to center. And let's uncross the legs. We're going to come over into a tabletop position to start our practice. So we want to place the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. And we're going to start with a few cat-cows, so most of you guys know this one already. So we're breathing in and let the stomach come down to the mat, reaching through with the chest and looking up in front. And then for our cat, we're going to push over, drawing the stomach into the spine, rounding at the neck. And breathing in, we're coming forward with the body looking up, and breathing out, rounding off, and we're pressing the floor away from us so that we get a deep stretch in the spine and into the hands as well. So spreading the fingers out wide, getting a good grip. Breathing in, coming forward. Breathing out, rounding the spine. Again, breathing in, coming forward. Breathing out, rounding the spine. And then make a few of these in your own rhythm, in your own time, in your own pace. Breathing in as you're coming up. Breathing out as you're rounding over. Trying to connect the movement with your breath. Making the movement as long as each breath. And after your last cat-cow, maybe we're going to come into a neutral position. And then just come back onto your knees. And then we're going to rotate into the wrists. To open up the joints there, give them some space. And another great way to stretch into the wrists is we're going to put the palms on the floor backwards, if that makes sense. So the fingers are going to be pointed towards the body, and the back of the arms are pointing away. And you can start to feel this stretch on the inside here, the insides of the wrist. So when you're somebody who does a lot of computer work or a lot of work on the phone, then these are some great stretches to counterbalance these actions. So just staying there, and you can feel that tension. If you can breathe into this tension, and maybe you're already starting to notice this thoughts of aversion, little thoughts of aversion coming in. See how the feeling's connecting with those thoughts. Okay. And then you can release and just notice that sensation, and you can shake your hands out if it feels good, or you can just sit there and feel that release in the wrists, maybe the lower arms. Okay, so from here, maybe we're going to walk forward. We'll come into a little downward dog just to stretch out the legs a little bit. So you walk the hands out the front again, spread your fingers nice and wide so that there's space between the fingers, and then connect the hands to the mat, like you're a gecko or a lizard connecting to the wall. So you wanna imagine that if your connection's not good, that you're gonna fall away from the wall, and putting pressure equally throughout the hand. Okay, and this will also, doing that will take pressure out of the wrists. When you're coming into downward dog, sometimes we can put too much pressure onto one side of the hand, and this is not really good. So spread the weight out evenly over the hands. Press into the floor. Tuck the toes underneath, and then kick the buttocks up into the air, nice and tall. And let the head hang between the arms. You can walk the legs out if that feels good, just to warm them up a little bit. Just kind of back and forth. Press into the floor again. Rise the buttocks as high up to the air as you can. And for someone like me, I need to bend my legs in order to get my buttocks higher. And the more higher I can get my buttocks, the better it is for my spine. So bend in the knees, then, if that helps to rise. Try that out. And from there, once you're comfortable in that position, then you can start to draw the heels down to the mat. but more importantly is straightening and strengthening into the spine, into the shoulders. Okay. So from here we're going to take the right leg and I'm going to lift it a little bit off the floor, and then I'm going to step it onto the outside of my right hand. So my two hands are in between. And if you like, what you can do is just, when we drop the left, you can drop the left knee onto the ground. And we're going to stay in this position. So we just feel that lunge. If you want, if that's not enough and you want a little bit more, you can raise the leg back up off the ground as well. So take whichever variation suits you better today. And coming back to the body. So when we're in the position now, we're coming back to the breath. We're noticing the feelings in the body. We're noticing the thoughts in the mind. Are we happy to stay in the position? Are we starting to struggle? Are we getting tension, annoyance, anger? Anything like this? Thoughts of aversion? Wanting things different from the way they are? Can I stay with it? Or do I want to pull away? And then coming down. And then at the coming down, I'm stepping the foot back. You can come back up into downward dog just to straighten in the spine again. Pressing in, taking some deep breaths here. And then now with the left foot, we're going to step the left foot in front to the outside of the left hand. Either bringing the knee to the floor, like this, like that. Either bringing the knee to the floor, or if you want a little bit extra, rising the leg up off the ground. You're pressing the left shoulder into the knee and the knee into the left shoulder, if that makes sense. So there's this counter pressure between the two. And breathing here, use your breath to stay in the position. Just noticing what happens in the thoughts in the mind. And the feelings, noticing the heat, the sensations. Beautiful. And then coming down, either bringing the knees to the floor, draw the left knee back. Getting warm already. Alright, so for the next part, we want to go up into standing. So make your way however you like. Oops. Lost a little decoration there. Okay. So make your way to standing. I just should adjust this video a little bit so you can see a bit better. Okay, so from here, first we're just going to do some gentle exercises to rise the arms up into the air overhead, reaching towards the sky. Breathing in, and then in the exhale, bringing the arms down to the side of the body. Okay? So breathing in, reaching up, looking up if you like, and exhaling down. Nice and gentle to start with. Breathing in, drawing a big aura around the body. Exhale, come down. And now this time when you're breathing in, and you're rising up, you can also rise up onto the balls of the feet. So rising up onto your toes, and maybe you're not looking up this time, just wherever you can, that you can balance, and then exhale, come down. So breathing in, rising up, balancing on the toes or the balls of the feet, allowing yourself to wriggle. So, there might be a little bit of jiggliness in your ankles, and allow that to happen. Don't fight that. Allow the process that the body can develop balance, because maybe we're not used to being on, in that position, and this is the body's way of finding its balance. So we mustn't fight that. We must let the ankles learn on their own. Okay? So if you fall over, it's okay, just come back into it. Okay, one more time, rising up, drawing balance into the body, and then therefore as well into the mind. Balance, equanimity on the mat as well as off. Alright, and coming back. Okay, so now basically, to give you an understanding, like I said before, we want to create balance in the mind. And when we're practicing yoga, what we're practicing on the mat in our body, we can transfer into the mind as well. So if we want to develop balance in the mind, we develop balance in the body by practicing these balance poses. Okay, simple? Yeah. So we'll do a couple of those today, just to get started. And remember, we don't have to be perfect. The body needs time to develop balance. It's not going from A to B in one session. So allow yourself to jiggle, allow yourself to fall out if that's what happens. And just come back, try and try again. And you'll notice after a few sessions of doing balance poses that it just naturally gets better and better and better. And we know that what we're practicing in our body will transfer into the mind, because the two are completely connected. There is no separation between the two. So what you're doing in here transfers up here and vice versa. Okay? So what a better way to develop this equanimity in the mind, the balance in the mind, by practicing it on the mat through balance positions. Cool. So saying that, we're going to come into this seated pose. I'm not very good with the names. But, so, the feet coming together, so that the feet are touching together. And then we're going to rise the arms up above us. And as if we're sitting on the chair, we're going to calm down. We'll bring the buttocks down as if we're sitting down on the chair. And we can either stay in this position, or what we can also do is wrap, let's say, the right leg around the left leg. And, whoops, see, okay? Even still, I'm working on my balance as well. So the right crosses over the left leg, and from there again, I can either stay like this, or I can also bring my left arm over the right, cross it, and then come down. So I'm kind of leaning over, rounding my spine, stretching the elbows out in front, and staying there for a few breaths, watching here the feelings, the thoughts in my mind, wanting, craving, aversion, dislike, watching them coming up, and breathing. Beautiful. And then I can let go of the arms. Don't let go of the legs yet. Come back up to standing. And then stretch the right leg out in front. And from there, take the right leg back behind the body without placing it on the floor just yet. And use your arms as a counterbalance. And come forward, stretching the right leg back behind you. And again, practicing that balance. Maybe looking at a spot just in front to keep your gaze locked onto something will help you find your balance. Using the breath
Straightening the legs. And then calming down. Beautiful. Alright, now we do that to the other side. So again, maybe take a breath or two here, if you like, in between. Noticing the sensations in the body. Noticing the heat. Noticing the breath, maybe the change in the breath. And then to come to the other side, we're going back into this chair position. So the feet are together again. And raising up the arm on the in-breath. On the exhale, draw the buttocks behind you as if you're coming to sit on a chair. Coming right down, looking that you can still see your toes underneath. Taking the left leg this time and crossing the left leg over the right. Staying here if you like, or taking the right arm over the top of the left, interlacing, and then bending down. Using your breath, staying in control. If you're falling out, coming back in, just trying again and again to find that balance, to develop the balance. To develop this equanimity, letting go to thoughts of insecurity or thoughts of letting go of thoughts that tell us that we can't do it. This aversion that I'm not good enough, that I'm not able to. We want to let that go and we try and try again. Okay? And then we're going to come up, untwist the arms, stretch the left leg out in front. And then taking the left leg behind us, finding that place where we can lock our gaze and finding the balance in the right leg. Don't want to raise the arms or the leg too high. Just straight behind. And observe what's coming in, what thoughts are there, what feelings are in the body. And then breathe to come up and let the left leg come down. Awesome. Okay, that's really good. So again, just take a moment here. If you want, you can close the eyes or you can even bring the hands together at prayer position. And just check in here. Let the breath come back to its natural flow. Watch the breath as it quietens. We just take the time here to let the breath quieten down. And while we're doing that, we're just observing the feelings in the body, the sensations, the strength we've developed. The deepness in the breath. Feeling the sensations on both sides of the legs, the torso, the spine. Okay, and when you're ready, you can let the hands fall down the side of the body and gently begin to open the eyes. And we're going to make one last balancing position for this yoga session. And we've been, the asanas that we've been doing now have been preparing our shoulders and our legs to try out the crow's pose. And this is always a fun one to do. Because again, this one is always about the learning process. It's a bit of a fun party trick. but it's also a good way to develop balance in the mind, in the body, in the core. So again, it's one of these ones we're not gonna, some of us might be able to do straight away, some of us won't, and that's totally fine. It's just where we are, okay? So if you don't know crow pose, or if you don't remember crow pose, this is the one where we come into kind of squat position, and we are connecting with the floor through our hands, again with the fingers nice and wide apart. And we're going to take our knees basically into the back of our arms, or up into our armpits, and we press into the floor. We engage in our core, we engage in our thighs, we look in front of us, and we're going to lift off. We're going to lift our legs up into the air. And you can see I'm also really not super practiced in this balance asana yet, so I'm also in the process here, which is beautiful. And all the fun is in the process in the end anyway. It's not about the end goal, it's about getting there. So let's enjoy this together. And if this is really too far for the first step, what you can do is we start by kind of being on our tippy toes. Keep the hands on the floor, and you can just practice walking the tippy toes towards the back of the hands and tipping the knees up into the armpits. You can just practice doing this, walking backwards and forwards and coming up like that. So that's the first step, and when you feel more comfortable there, then you can start leaning into the backs of the arms. You press into the floor through your hands, and you press the biceps into the thighs and the knees, the shins and the knees, sorry. And you press them together. You draw into the core, look in front, always looking in front, and then lifting until you're coming up. Okay? And so practice in your own rhythm. Have a few tries. If we don't get it today, we'll get it tomorrow. Okay? It's all the development we want. So go for it. Okay. Try one more time. Together. Up. And breathe. There we go. Okay. And when you're done, you can come back to sitting. So that was the last balance activity for today. So let's take a moment now to just sit and to rest in that, to appreciate our efforts today, that we start this balance, that we start this practice of developing the balance, that we start this practice of developing the ability of bringing this equanimity into the body so we can bring it up into the mind. And so I think in this practice we were able to see a little bit what happens when we get into a state, or when the mind is in this state of wanting or of craving or aversion, you know, whether it be that we wanted to come out of a position or whether we didn't like a position or anything like this. We can see how that arises, and we can feel what happens in the body when these feelings get stronger and stronger and stronger. And the question comes up, what would happen in the mind and the body if when we were able to just let these thoughts go? You know, and like what I was saying before, when we have these thoughts coming up, okay, I feel like I'm not good enough, I can't do this position, you know, I can't do this asana, and my body is not flexible enough, I'm not capable, etc., etc. We create this thought and this tension in the body, which makes us unable to go further with the asana. So what happens if that thought was to never come up? If I never had this thought coming up telling me that I couldn't do it, what we probably would start to see is that our bodies are capable of doing it. You know, with time, with a few
practices, with a few days of practicing that asana one after the other, everyone would start to see how the body is improving little bit by little bit. And the body and at that point you can see as proof that it is possible for you to do that. But that it's the mind's thinking, it's the mind's attachment to the idea, I am not capable, I am not fit enough, I am not flexible enough, that holds us back from being able to do that in the first place. That makes us pull out of the position and not want to try it again and again and again. But if we can remove that thought, if we can stop identifying with that thought, if we can let go of that thought and push past that thought, then we will try again and again and again until we have reached perfection in that asana. And this is the case with everything in our lives, on and off the mat. Okay? So I hope this gives a little bit of an idea of how developing this equanimity and developing this balance and this ability to let go can help us to better our lives, to create more joy, to create more possibility, and to create much more freedom. Okay, so if you would like to, I would highly recommend to just take the next 5 minutes to lie down and make a nice relaxing shavasana for yourself. And I just wanted to say, because today is the 23rd, that I wish everyone a super Merry Christmas, and that I'm loving Christmas time in a real winter Christmas with a real Christmas tree, and the Northern Hemisphere is awesome. So thank you for having me in your lovely land. And I wish everyone safe and happy holidays, and can't wait to see you guys in the future. Mwah. Namaste.